What happens when you put NASCAR's best drivers on a tiny quarter-mile track where there's barely room to breathe? Well, at the Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium, things got wild in a hurry, and Daniel Suárez reached his absolute breaking point. The 2026 NASCAR season kicked off with the Cookout Clash, and right from the start, everyone knew this was going to be intense. Bowman Gray Stadium is not your typical NASCAR track. It's super small, super tight, and when cars get bunched up, there's almost nowhere to go. That's exactly what happened during the race, and it set off a chain reaction that left multiple drivers angry and frustrated. The main incident involved Bubba Wallace getting turned around after a massive stack-up on the track. When cars bunch together like that on such a small track, it's like bumper cars at a carnival, except these are race cars going incredibly fast. Wallace found himself in the wrong place at the wrong time, and contact sent him spinning. Daniel Suárez was right there in the middle of it all, and he was not happy about what went down. After the race ended, Suárez didn't hold back. He was so fired up that he dropped multiple F-bombs during his live television interview. NASCAR and the broadcast team had to deal with the unexpected profanity going out over the air. This wasn't just a driver being a little upset. This was a full-blown explosion of frustration that caught everyone off guard. Suárez went straight after Bubba Wallace in his comments. He made it clear that he felt Wallace's driving during that incident was a problem. From Suárez's point of view, the contact that happened wasn't just hard racing. He thought it was careless and cost him a chance at a good finish. When you're competing at the highest level of NASCAR and you feel like someone took away your opportunity, emotions run high. But Wallace wasn't the only driver in Suárez's crosshairs. Shane Van Gisbergen, who goes by SVG, also had a run-in with Suárez during the race. Van Gisbergen is a driver from New Zealand who made the jump to NASCAR full-time, and he's known for his aggressive style. During the clash, SVG and Suárez made contact, and it added fuel to the fire of Suárez's frustration. After everything settled down, Suárez didn't just complain about one incident. He called out both Wallace and Van Gisbergen for what he saw as unnecessary contact and aggressive moves that hurt his race. The Mexican driver was clearly fed up with how things played out on the tight Bowman Gray track. Shane Van Gisbergen didn't stay quiet either. When asked about the incidents with Suárez, SVG gave his side of the story. He explained that racing on such a small track means contact is going to happen. From his perspective, he was just racing hard and trying to get the best finish possible. Van Gisbergen has been learning the ins and outs of NASCAR since making the switch from other racing series, and his style is definitely more aggressive than some drivers are used to. The back and forth between Suárez and SVG showed that neither driver was willing to back down. Van Gisbergen defended his racing, saying that when you're on a track as tight as Bowman Gray, you have to be aggressive, or you'll get left behind. He didn't apologize for racing hard, and that probably didn't sit well with Suárez, who felt like the contact crossed a line. What made this whole situation even more interesting is the different backgrounds of the drivers involved. Bubba Wallace is one of NASCAR's most high-profile drivers, and he's got a huge fan following. Interestingly, Wallace recently made an appearance at the Pro Bowl, which is the NFL's All-Star game. He actually got selected for the Pro Bowl before some NFL legends, which shows just how much crossover appeal Wallace has beyond just racing. His popularity extends way past the NASCAR world, and he's become a household name in sports. During the Cookout Clash, Wallace also had to deal with fuel management issues. His team was trying to stretch their fuel as far as possible to gain a strategic advantage. Fuel strategy is a big deal in NASCAR because if you can go longer without stopping for gas, you can gain track position. But managing fuel while also racing hard is incredibly difficult, and it added another layer of challenge to Wallace's day. Carson Hocevar, another young driver in the race, had a different perspective on the clash. Despite all the chaos and controversy, Hocevar came away feeling positive about his team's performance. He said his team is trending upwards and that their performance at the clash proved they're heading in the right direction. For Hocevar, the race was a sign of good things to come in the 2026 season. It's interesting how different drivers can have completely different experiences at the same race. The Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium has a reputation for producing exactly this kind of drama. The track is so small that any little mistake gets magnified. There's no room for error, and tempers flare quickly when contact happens. Throughout NASCAR history, Bowman Gray has been the site of countless controversies and heated moments. It's just the nature of racing on such a tight course. What Daniel Suárez went through at the Clash speaks to the pressure these drivers are under. Every race matters, even exhibition races like the Clash, because they set the tone for the season. Suarez came into 2026 with championship aspirations and high expectations. When things don't go your way in the very first race, and you feel like other drivers cost you a good result, it's easy to lose your cool. The profanity on live television was a big deal for NASCAR. The sport has broadcast standards to maintain, and having a driver drop F-bombs during an interview creates a problem for the networks. NASCAR will likely have conversations with Suarez about keeping his emotions in check during broadcasts. But at the same time, fans love seeing the raw emotion. It makes the sport feel real and shows that these drivers care deeply about their results. Bubba Wallace's side of the story is important too. Getting turned around in a stack-up isn't fun for any driver. Wallace was trying to navigate the chaos just like everyone else, and sometimes contact happens through no fault of your own. The tight quarters at Bowman Gray mean that when one car gets out of shape, it can collect multiple others. Wallace probably didn't wake up that morning planning to turn Suarez around or ruin anyone's race. Shane Van Gisbergen's approach to NASCAR has been aggressive from the start. He came from other racing series where being physical with other cars is more accepted. In NASCAR, there's definitely a culture of hard racing, but there are also unwritten rules about what's acceptable. SVG is still learning where that line is, and incidents like the one with Suarez are part of that learning process. The rivalry brewing between these three drivers could be one of the big storylines of the 2026 season. When drivers have heated confrontations this early in the year, it often carries over into future races. Suarez, Wallace, and Van Gisbergen will all be racing against each other for the entire season, and you can bet they'll all remember what happened at Bowman Gray. For fans, this kind of drama is what makes NASCAR exciting. Sure, everyone wants to see close racing and incredible driving, but the personalities and conflicts between drivers add an extra layer of entertainment. When Daniel Suárez loses his cool and calls out other drivers on live TV, it creates buzz and gets people talking. Social media exploded after the race, with fans debating who was right and who was wrong. Daniel Suárez's championship hopes for 2026 are still very much alive despite the rough start. One bad race doesn't define a season, even if that race leaves you incredibly frustrated. How Suarez responds to this adversity will say a lot about his mental toughness and his ability to compete for a title. The Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium gave us everything we could want from a NASCAR race: close competition, controversial moments, heated emotions, and plenty to talk about.